Which is expected to happen at 10:03.
You may notice that on the top of the cone shape there are white forks. This is because that we use what we call a cryogenic propulsion system. It utilizes the kerosene and the liquid oxygen. You know that liquid oxygen can only be stored in a very low temperature. So it keeps its temperature by vaporizing some of the oxygen and brings the heat out of the launch vehicle. And because that the liquid oxygen is in a very low temperature, so when it is released from the launch vehicle, the water vapor near the launch vehicle will be frozen, and you can see the white fork.
All right. Well, Professor, let's talk a little bit later in the show. CGTN's Zheng Yingbing has been speaking to the commander who's in charge of launching the cargo ships for the China space station. So let's hear from him.
Wang Yiliang is responsible for all 4 Tianzhou cargo ship launch missions that have formed the China space station since May 2021. He and his teammates are devoted to the last resupply mission before the completion of the station by the end of the year.
The success of this mission is very important. It provides both the necessities for the 2 crews in orbit and the relevant scientific equipment for experiments.
Well, this is the first time you participate in the Tianzhou cargo ship launch missions. So can you share with us what's your feeling now?
I feel really confident now that our rocket and cargo ship have gone through tests for more than 1 month and still remain in good condition.
And among all these missions, what is the most impressive part in your experiences and memories?
The most impressive one was during the Tianzhou-5 mission. A problem appeared, but we thankfully located and solved it. This was etched into our memories, and we became hyper-focused on countering emergencies after that. We now have more than 20 emergency plans.
From your perspective, what are the best qualities for the commander and his team?
I'm the Dongyao launch commander, but the road is not about just me. It's about the whole team. The most important thing is for us to trust each other. We need to believe that each one of us has the skills to lead well in our post and coordinate and solve problems.
Well, Professor Yang, so we're looking there at the Long March 7 Y6 rocket. So all the different spacecraft launchers use different rockets, right? So for the supply cargo ships for the Tianzhou series, they all use the Long March 7. And if I understand correctly, then for the manned space missions, that's the Long March 2? F2F, and then and then different ones for the lab as well. So what is different about each of them, and why particularly the Long March 7 for this one? Let's start with the Long March 7.
Well, that Long March 7 has the capability of launching 14 tons of payload to the low Earth orbit. So it is the right launch vehicle for the cargo ship because our Tianzhou cargo ship, the total mass is about 13.5 tons. So it is as a capability not too big and not too small. And also you see that the Long March 7 belongs to the new generation launch vehicle of China. It is adopted a 2.5 stage design. The core stage have 2 stages. The first stage and the second stage both has a diameter of 3.35 meters, and it uses 4 boosters with a diameter of 2.25 meters each. And the Long March 7 launch vehicle use what we call the YF-100 rocket engine, which plays a very major role in the new generation of standard launch vehicle. The core stage, the first one, use 2 of these engines, and each of the boosters use 1 of these engines. So during the liftoff, there are 6 this kind of YF-100 engines, and the thrust of each engine is about 120 tons. So the total liftoff thrust is more than 720 thrust. Very, very powerful launch vehicle. And the second stage of this launch vehicle use 4 YF-115 rocket engine. Each has a thrust about 18 tons. So this is a 2.5 stage launch vehicle, and all these engines use, as I mentioned, the kerosene and liquid oxygen as a propellant. And this propellant is very environmental friendly. You see that the product of this combustion is only carbon dioxide and water, and also it is
non-toxic.
No toxic and not any corrosive things. So this is a new generation launch vehicle. It is a mid-sized launch vehicle dedicated for the launch of the cargo ship. And what you mentioned, the Long March 2F is the only human-rated launch vehicle of China, because you know that it will launch the Shenzhou spaceship with humans on board. So this is raise a very high requirement on the safety reliability to this launch vehicle. The initial designed reliability is 0.97, which is a very high requirement to this launch vehicle. The rudiment of this Long March 2F is a Long March 2E. But the Long March 2F added a malfunction detection system on board this Long March 2F. So the reliability figure raised. And also another system very special called the emergency escape system was also mounted on this Long March 2F. You can see the emergency escape tower, very thin tower on the top. So with this help, the safety to the astronauts can reach to 0.997 at the initial stage. So this is already very high reliability, which means only in every 1,000 launches, only in 3 cases may threaten the safety of the astronauts.
Okay.
So this is also very important.
Is that, how does that compare with international standards in just 17 minutes now until launch?
Okay,
so
it's already very advanced comparing with the launch vehicles of other countries. But you know that this is not the final phase. In the future, China will also develop a so-called new generation human-rated launch vehicle. At that moment, our capability, you know, that's the total mass of the Shenzhou spaceship is only about 8.1 tons. But in the future, we will have a launch vehicle and the payload, the new generation manned spaceship will more than 20 tons. And also,
so that they can go up there with more cargo as well?
A more heavy spaceship. You know, that's the potential of this new human-rated launch vehicle. The capability is more than 27 tons to the translunar orbit, which means that in the future, our astronauts can visit the moon with this new generation launch vehicle
so
in the future.
Go further, basically. With
exactly.
Higher payloads.
And as you mentioned, also during our China Manned Space Engineering program, we have 14 systems. During these 14 systems, we have 3 launch vehicles: the Long March 2F, the Long March 7, as you mentioned, and also the Long March 5B.
That's what was used for the labs.
Exactly. You know, that's the total mass of both the Wentian and Mengtian are more than 23 tons, very heavy. And also the length of the Wentian is about 17.88 meters. So it is very big and very long. And only the Long March 5B have this huge payload fairing to envelope the whole lab, as you mentioned.
I mean, even just looking at the images that we're seeing, the Long March 5, I mean, the Mengtian was not long ago that it was launched. The Long March 7 that we were seeing just now is a lot slimmer than the Long March 5.
Yes. Usually we call the Long March 5 the Fat 5.
The chubby
because
5, right.
This is because what we called in our field called the ratio of its length comparing its diameter. You know that the Long March 5 the family has the largest diameter, about 5 meters, which is the biggest in China. Actually speaking, the Long March 7, the launch day, the core stage, as I mentioned, the diameter is 3.35 meters. This follows the standards of the old generation.
Professor, so we're at 15 minutes now to the launch.
Okay, it's T-minus 15 minutes counting down.
That's right, and this is significant in the preparation stage, isn't it? This 15-minute launch time.
And we can hear from the voice that the commander announced this 15 minutes counting down, and also there will many technology status change at this moment.
And at what point will all the staff be evacuating the area?
Yes, this launch complex is called the 201 launch complex. Comparing with the one for the launch of the Long March 5 series called the 101 launch complex. So this launch complex is to launch the Long March 7 series and the Long March 8 series. Both these rockets has a similar diameter in its core stage, 3.35 meters. And as we have already discussed, in the next several minutes, we will change the power supply from the ground control to the vehicle's onboard battery. And also
that would mean that the rocket itself will be completely independent now.
Exactly,
from the ground,
and also
right? Detached.
you know that there are some pipes. Just before the launch, we will also unplug all these pipes because you know that still we need to continue to refueling to the tanks the liquid oxygen. Because it
Is that still going on now?
I believe it's already
process?
completed.
Okay.
When we see that the white fog disappeared, it will means that the refueling is already accomplished. But at this moment, you can still see that.
Steam,
so
yeah.
still we are pouring the liquid oxygen into the tanks
Right.
because it continues vaporizing.
So at this point, are there still staff around the launch pad, or have they all
Yes,
evacuated?
as I
by
mentioned,
now?
there are rotational arms very close to the launch vehicle, and on the tip of the arm, we have the pipes and the cables still connected
Yeah.
to the launch vehicle. And we can see the payload fairing. This payload fairing, the diameter of this payload fairing is 4.2 meters. Because you know that the maximum diameter of our Tianzhou cargo ship is 3.35 meters. So the 4.2 meter payload fairing is big enough to put the Tianzhou cargo ship, spaceship inside. And this time we've already optimized the arrangement of the cargoes. So this time we can put more cargoes inside the pressurized module of the Tianzhou cargo ship.
How far away would ground staff have to be away from the launch pad to be, sort of a safe distance?
I believe at this moment they've already escaped
That's
from
right.
the launch pad because you know that's the flame of the Ratty engines is very dangerous for the ground staff.
So what's a safe distance then?
I
Several
believe
hundred
at least 1 kilometer away.
1 kilometer, right? Because at 1 kilometer, you can still very much feel the impact, right, from the rocket launch itself.
So
the
you can
shaking,
also
the
see other
vibrations.
so you can also see other towers around this launch pad.
Right.
It's to avoid or protect the launch pad from the thunders, the lightning from lightnings. So although the rain is not a very big problem for us, but the lightnings and the thunders are really a very serious problem. So we must avoid from the damage from the lightning.
So the storm condition is not great, but slight rain or slight fog.
Yeah,
locally
exactly.
is not an
You
issue
see that
for
the
launches.
Wenchang spacecraft launch site is very close to the equator. This is advantage, but because it is on the seashore, we must consider the influence of the rain, the storms, and also even the salty fogs. You know that because it is near the sea, and the salty fog is corrosive. So we must
Oh, I
consider
see.
about that.
But this is still, Wenchang is still the most ideal launch pad, right? Despite all these
Yes, not
conditions
only
you're talking
because
about.
it is close to the equator, but because you know that when we ship the launch vehicle from the factories, we ship from the factory in Tianjin. Near the seashore and to the Qinglan seaport in the Hainan province. So during all this process, you see that they do not have any limitation to the size of the launch vehicle.
So it's the most convenient, logistically speaking,
Yes,
as well.
yes, exactly.
Well,
But
we got.
it's really hot there.
We're close to 10 minutes now until the launch happens.
Yes, 10 minutes, T-minus 10 minutes and counting will be another critical checking point for the status of the launch vehicle.
What will happen then? What sort of
And
checks
we
are they
will
doing?
check, you see that the commander of the ground control will confirm that each tracking station is okay, and also the status of the is near T-minus 10 minutes.
So we're starting the countdown now.
注意，10分钟，准备。
We just heard the announcement there for the 10 minutes, T-minus 10 preparations. So this will be definitely an exciting mission. I mean, in terms of what it signifies for China, doesn't it? I mean, now we're heading towards this moment where there will be more than 3 people, the most people that will ever be on a space station, 6
Yes.
in total.
Yes. And the necessary step is to deliver the right supplies for the Shenzhou-15 crew. So that is why this Tianzhou-5 mission is really important for our Shenzhou-15 crew.
So about 6 tons of cargo. Obviously, fuel is would that take up the most bulk of the cargo?
No. More than 5 tons of cargo is resupplies,
Okay.
and only about 1.5 tons of propellants inside the 4 fuel tanks in the service module.
Ah, that's all that's needed.
Yes,
Wow.
you know that's the space station orbiting the Earth in a very low altitude, so the refueling is very, very necessary. So that is the reason why each of the Tianzhou resupply mission, we have the propellants refueled to the station's fuel tanks. It is very interesting that inside this fuel tank, we have the bellows, like the bellows of the accordion. So it can change its shape and pull the propellants from the fuel tanks of the Tianzhou cargo ship to the tanks inside the station.
Oh, okay, I see. I think we got a close-up of the boosters just now on the rocket itself.
When we see the white fog disappeared, which means that the refueling procedure is completed. And inside the tanks, we already have sufficient propellants, liquid oxygen.
I mean, this is a very frequent launches now for China and the space program, isn't it? I mean, with this year, we've seen lots of launches, and we've seen the manned mission as well. And then just a week ago or so, it was the Mengtian Lab module.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, this sort of speed. I mean, how does this compare really on an international level? The sort of frequent launches.
China has reached the top 2 of the numbers of launches for many years, and in several years we reached the top 1 among all these space capable nations. And moreover, you see that just today we also have a launch in the Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center, launched a Long March 6A launch vehicle. This is really special because it uses solid rocket boosters, not like quite different from the other of China's launch vehicles. So this is also a really special launch. This is the second flight of the Long March 6A. But as you mentioned, this year we have so many launches in our China manned space program, because this year is the right year for the construction of China space station. As you mentioned, that after we launched the Shenzhou-15 mission and they meet the Shenzhou 14 crew in the Tiangong space station, they will complete the construction of our Tiangong space station. Although that at the current stage the T shape has already been formed, but it not means the completion of the station, because we still have a lot of work to do, such as the integration of the thermal control, the integration of the data handling system and the communication system, the integration of the whole environmental control and the life support system. So all this work needs to be done by the Shenzhou 14 crew and the Shenzhou 15 crew. All these are very, very necessary.
So that would belong to the third phase, would it?
The second phase.
That's still the second phase.
Still the second phase.
Okay.
And after the construction, we will entering the normal operation of our Tiangong space station. Okay,
So-
6 minutes counting down.
That's right. So just 6 minutes to go until it lifts off. So this rocket is 53 meters tall, right? Is
Yes.
that one of China's tallest?
No,
rockets,
it's
or
not
this is
the
not?
tallest,
Okay.
but very interesting that the tallest one is also belongs to this Long March 7 family. It is a Long March 7A launch vehicle. It's also taller than this launch vehicle. The Long March 7A can be recognized as the derivative of the Long March 7. It added the third stage to the launch vehicle. As you mentioned, this Long March 7 is a 2.5 stage rocket, but it added a third stage, which can be used to launch very high altitude spacecraft.
Right. So when you say 2.5 stage, what's the half that we're
The half
referring
is
to
the
here?
4 boosters.
Oh, okay. So these all need to be jettisoned at some point.
Yes,
It will
exactly.
lead into-
Okay,
Just
5
5
minutes
minutes.
counting down.
Getting closer to that time, it must be quite nerve-wracking for them, even though they've done it many, many times already.
Yeah. As we mentioned, the diameter of our 4 boosters is 2.25 meters, a little bit smaller than the core stage. And each of these boosters use one rocket engine called the YF-100, which the thrust of each engine is more than 120 tons. So it is, currently speaking, it is the most powerful liquid rocket engine of China.
Wow. And how long will it take for the rocket to reach the space station, do you think? Not the rocket, sorry, the spacecraft.
It depends on the arrangement of the flight mission. You see that in this year, we know that during the Mengtian mission, it takes about 13 hours from the launch to the docking. But for the cargo ship and Shenzhou spaceship, it will be much faster.
So I mean, a lot of this, the timing of the launch, that also depends on, you were saying about the orbit positions, right? So
Exactly.
you want the shortest
Quite
time
right, quite
possible
right.
to reach.
They must entering
space
the
station.
same orbital plane. This is the most important and the most strict requirement to the launch. So only when the launch vehicle brings the payload into the orbit, they must inside the same orbital plane. So you know that the Earth rotates 360 degrees 1 day per day. Okay, the ground control, the commander is checking the status. Okay, we
have
can
just
see
about
that
4
the
minutes
white
to go
fogs
now.
are disappeared, which
means
means
the
that
fueling
the fueling
pipes
is
have
already
stopped, right?
accomplished. And next we will see these arms will rotate it from away from this launch vehicle, and all the cables and the pipes
各
will
号注意
unplugged.
，3分钟准备。
3 minutes to go until launch.
Yes. I believe at this moment the power supply has already been switched from the ground to the launch vehicle itself.
So making the
Yes,
rocket
it
now
uses its own
independent.
battery.
Right, right. So then what sort of a window are we looking at then for the launch if it needs to be on a very precise orbit, the closest distance to the space station?
Quite right. As Sun Ye has mentioned, we use a zero window
Zero
technology,
window.
which means that the accuracy of the liftoff time is better than 1 second.
Wow. I mean, for China to get to this zero window, how long did that process take? Is this something that as technologies become more advanced, then you
Actually
get to
speaking,
this?
we achieved this very early in 2011 during the launch of the Shenzhou-5 spaceship. You know, the Shenzhou-5 is the first one to conducting rendezvous and docking with the Tiangong-1 target
2 分
vehicle.
钟准备。
Okay, 2 minutes.
Go. Even though it is just a cargo spaceship, it's still quite nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Yeah,
Still feel
exactly.
明白。
the tension.
And next we will see that the
Nimai.
rotation arms will be rotated away from the launch vehicle. And we have
Amazing,
cameras
getting ready.
monitoring the process.
We're able to see the launch also happening from the angle of the rocket itself.
110
I mean,
摆
there's
杆摆开
cameras.。There you go.
Okay,
the
the
arms
arm.
are opening up now.
明白。
There, as you can see it happening, the arms are leaving the rocket.
And all pipes and cables will be unplugged. Look, quite perfect.
Just 1 minute to go now.
1分钟准备。1分钟准备。
T minus 1 minute and counting.
50秒。明白。
50-second countdown.
40秒。40秒。
It's the 40-second
Nimai.
countdown now.
明白。30秒。30秒。
30 seconds.
20秒。20秒。
20-second countdown.
10、9、8、7、6、5、4、3、2、1，点火！点火！起飞！梯零，幺动10，动3分，幺2秒，3拐4毫秒。幺动10，动3分，幺2
The
秒
power is
，3拐
there.
4毫秒。
There it goes on its way to the space station.
And the next step will be the pitch over, which means that it changes its flight direction from a vertical one to the southeast.
Ah, okay.
No, this is a video from the camera mounted on the launch vehicle. We can still see the 2 boosters.
4 boosters in total.
4
Wait,
boosters
4
mounted.
boosters in total.
Yes.
文昌光学雷达跟踪正常，遥测信号正常，文昌飞行正常。
And the ground station's
Together,
tracking
yeah.
is very normal, either the optical one or the radar.
And we'll be hearing lots of ground stations across
Yes,
different
they're
parts of
reporting
China.
the status
tracking,
of
right?
the tracking status.
1210跟踪正常。
How many of these tracking stations does China have?
文昌光学
So
雷达
many.
跟踪正常，遥测信号正常，文昌飞行正常。
And we have the ground station in the Xisha Island.
Oh, okay. See. But
Okay.
they've just announced that everything is
Great show.
as
We can see the
normal,
flame
as
of the
expected.
6 rocket engines, 4 on the boosters and 2 on the core stage.
阵地1212跟踪正常。
So how long before it reaches orbit then?
Well, about 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes, okay.
Yeah. And the next critical step will be the separation of the first stage.
And once it, so 10 minutes until it reaches orbit, and then from
阵地
there,
3115跟
it
踪
will
正常。
be how long before it reaches the space station?
文昌
As I
光学
mentioned,
雷
it
达跟踪
depends
正
on
常，
the
遥测
arrangement
信号
of the
正常，
flight
文
mission.
昌飞行正常。
Either several hours, but for the for the Mengtian mission, it takes more than 10 hours.
Right, right.
It depends on the position or the relative position of both targets.
通过令遥测信号正常。
More announcements from different stations.
We can
that
see the
things are
direction
going
has
as
already
normal.
changed from a vertical change to the
Yes,
southeast. And on the small screen window, we can see the 3D animation, which is based on the real data received from the ground station, which represents the real attitude of the launch vehicle. And you can see the communication links between the ground station and the launch vehicle itself.
So I mean, this docking process, I was reading, is
文昌光学
actually
雷
one
达
of
跟踪正
potentially
常，遥
China's
测信号正
shortest,
常，
right?
文
So
昌飞
far,
行正常。
about
Not
3
exactly.
hours.
You can see that within several minutes, we will see the separation of the 4 boosters.
阵地1212跟踪正常。
It looks like everything is going well right now and as expected.
So the ground stations, including the readers and also the telemetry. Okay,
The
great,
boosters are being jettisoned now.
very great view. And the 2 rocket engines on the first stage is still working. Okay.
But look, it's off now, isn't
一
it?
级分离。
We can see the separation of the first stage and the interstage.
Right, I was going to ask you what that little part was that
Yeah,
just dropped off
exactly. So now the working of the second stage. As I mentioned, there are 4 rocket engines on the second stage called YF-115. And this is a camera inside the payload fairing. And then,
好，
okay,
9照。
payload fairing is jettisoned because it is already out of the atmosphere.
there. Right. So the final stage would then be just the cargo spacecraft separating from that additional
The
rocket
second
stage
stage.
that we're seeing.
And it is very interesting. You see that the now you can see the 3D animation is the working of the second stage, and the second stage
3901
have 4
跟踪正常。
engines. And it is very interesting that during these 4 engines, 2 are fixed,
文昌
and
雷
the
达
other
跟踪
2
正常，
have
遥测
vernier
信号正常，文昌飞行正
mechanisms.
常。
So before the end of the flight, we will first shut down the 2 engines fixed, and then it can very precisely adjust its trajectory with the other 2 engines.
3117跟踪正常。
Right, so we're looking at 2 different images here. You see
Yes,
one is
on
from
the left is a
second
camera mounted
stage.
inside the payload fairing and looking frontward. And the second is the camera
second
mounted
stage,
backwards, just monitoring the status of
西
the
沙
rocket
224跟
engines.
踪正常。
And you get a good view of Earth as well from the camera.
We can
on
see the
right.
curve of the horizon of the Earth.
But that's a view that the astronauts and the space station can
Yeah.
see quite
So
frequently. isn't it?
what we saw on the left screen, we can see a big dish is the antenna of the data relay satellite.
I see. So this, the cargo spaceship will be docking from the port that the Tianzhou-5 had just recently detached from.
Yes, it is a rear docking port of our Tianhe-1 core module. The Tianhe-1 core module has 3 docking ports, one on the front, one on the rear part, and the other one at the bottom of its node. the three, and as you mentioned, the rear docking pod has already been freed by the separation of the Tianzhou-5 cargo ship.
So what would the other two docking ports then be used for?
The bottom docking pod is not connected to the Shenzhou-14,
Right.
the Shenzhou-14 manned spaceship, and just maybe several days later, the Shenzhou-15 will dock to the front docking pod.
The Shenzhou-15 will move. Okay, so so with the Shenzhou-15 mission, all three of the docking ports will be fully occupied.
Exactly. That will be the maximum configuration of our Tiangong space station at this stage. A T-shaped 3-module and 2 manned spaceships and a cargo ship.
零水3901跟踪正常。
That will be a combination of 6 spacecraft,
Wow.
nearly 100 tons.
So fully functional at that point.
Yes.
Has the space station had to do much adjustments to accommodate to wait for the cargo?
That's right, exactly, very right. You see that the attitude of the station must be adjusted for preparing to receive this Tianzhou-5. You know that, as we mentioned, they must go into the same orbital plane, but the position in the orbit must also meet some requirements. So just before the launch today, we must have some orbital maneuver of the Tiangong space station to meet the right requirement for the docking today.
Would that be a big adjustment? Is that something?
Not very big adjustment, just a slight change to make it, that the position of the space station is not too far from the point where the Tianzhou-5 entering the orbit. So that is a basic requirement for the fast rendezvous and docking.
And fast, Professor Young, in terms of kind of internationally, what's the sort of fastest speed for rendezvous and docking? That's
About
been
2
achieved?
hours. That the Progress cargo spacecraft, liftoffs from Russia, docked to the International Space Station less than 2 hours. So that is the fastest record. And this is, this is more important for the launch of the manned spacecraft. Because you know that,
零水3901跟踪正常。
okay, the Lingshui ground station monitoring very normally.
文昌雷达跟踪正常，遥测信号正常，文昌飞行正常。
The flight is also normal.
There's various ground stations checking in.
Yeah. And you can also see the 3D animation, and you can see the lines, the dash lines is a data link between the ground station and the vehicle.
I see.
And also the attitude now is the real status of the launch vehicle.
So 2 hours, just over 2 hours is the current record for docking, and you were saying that's important for manned missions.
Yeah,
to
because
save
you know that
time, right?
the inner volume of a spaceship is very, very narrow. So it's really relatively inconvenient.
So the quicker, obviously, the better for the astronauts.
Like when you go to office, you don't want to stay a long time in your car.
What's China's record at the moment? What's China's
Well,
fastest
for a
time?
manned spaceship, it's about 6 hours.
6 hours, okay.
Yeah.
And do you think for the Shenzhou-15, is China looking at reducing that time, or are we going for 6 hours?
As I mentioned, it depends on the arrangement of the mission.
Okay.
But we've already mastered this technology, so when necessary, it can be shorter.
Right.
So I believe the next step will be the shutdown of the 2 fixed engines, and will be some very precise adjustment of its trajectory.
And then after that, it would be the second stage separating.
Yeah.
So at the point when the second stage is separated, then the spacecraft will be in orbit already, or is that after reaching?
After separation, the Tianzhou-5 will be in orbit, and the next critical step will be the unfolding of its solar panels.
Okay. And then with the solar panels unfolded, so what's powering the spacecraft at that point?
二级固定发动机关机。
Okay, as I mentioned, the 2
boosters.
fixed engines has already been shut down. And the other 2
Zooming
will
into
be
the animation there.
shut down shortly. It's already in vacuum condition, so you
二
can,
级摆动发动机关机。
So it's
Great.
been 10 minutes since launch.
The vernier
and
engines
are
already-
done.
very beautiful view from the rocket.
So the spaceship is now on its own.
Yeah. So this is a video from the camera mounted on the second stage of our Long March 7 launch vehicle.
So what we're looking at now is the tail end of the spacecraft.
Yeah.
Right.
And the next, you can see the flame of the attitude control engines on the Tianzhou-5.
And that's helping it to adjust its
It's adjusting its attitude now.
Right.
And the next step will be unfolding of the solar panels.
And what would these solar panels do for the spacecraft?
Well, you see that it provides a continuous power supply to the Tianzhou-5 cargo ship. And even after it is docked to the Tiangong space station, the solar panels will also provide part of the electricity to the whole station. Because all the power supply system is integrated to one system.
But there are solar panels on everything that we've seen launched so far. All the
Exactly.
labs have them too. So they're all helping to power the space station.
And also, you know that at this stage, based on the telemetry data, we will measure the precise orbital parameters of the Tianzhou-5. And only it meets some threshold, we can announce that it is a successful launch. Because the accuracy is also a very critical factor. Not only go into the orbit, but the accuracy. Only the accuracy meets some requirement, we can ensure the docking can be conducted normally.
货运飞船出轨根数已发出。
Because the previous launches, they measured the success by the solar panels
Well,
opening
as
up.
we can hear the voice of the ground control, that the orbital parameters of the Tianzhou-5 has already been sent.
So 6 tons of cargo, and then in total, what's the weight of this spacecraft?
The total mass of this Tianzhou-5 spacecraft is about 13.2 tons. You know, the maximum is 13.5 tons. So this time is a little bit small than its maximum configuration. But still is sufficient for the Shenzhou-15 crew.
So earlier we had the little panel to our right, and that's the camera from the second stage,
Yep.
the rocket, wasn't it?
And also we have the telemetry data sending the videos from the Tianzhou cargo ship itself.
So what will happen to all these various jettisoned parts of the rocket then, Professor?
Well, it will deorbited several days later, because you know that they do not have any propulsion on the second stage.
No.
Theoretically speaking, it is in the same orbit of the Tianzhou-5 cargo ship. But you know that this is not the final orbit of the Tianzhou-5. The Tianzhou-5 will conduct several orbit maneuver to chasing the Tiangong space station.
Okay.
But the you can see that from the 3D
solar
animation,
panels.
the panels are unfolded.
4 panels altogether.
3
6 panels.
3 on each side.
3 on
the
each
solar
side,
wings.
6 altogether.
Yeah, it's different from the Shenzhou spaceship. The Shenzhou spaceship, although the panel is smaller, but it has 4 panels on each side.
So it could be hours now before the docking process will
Exactly.
begin. And then that docking itself then could take another few hours or so. And then I guess, I mean, this is great for the astronauts. They're expecting a lot up there, as you said.
They are waiting for their new food, their fresh food.
And especially for the Lunar New Year as well. How long do you think is it scheduled for the 2 crew, the Shenzhou-14 and the Shenzhou-15, to be kind of concurrently in the space station? How long?
Usually they will stay
be?
together for 1 to 2 weeks, but usually probably 10 days also. You know that this is really important. By the construction of our Tiangong space station, the daily task becomes more and more complex and more intensive. So deliver the task face to face will be very, very important for the normal operation of our Tiangong space station, and this will be the most effective way for the conducting their daily works.
And then from that point onwards, so once the Shenzhou-15 crew gets to the space station at the end of this year, that would mean that China's space station will be permanently manned, right? Likely.
Actually speaking, it is permanently manned during when the Shenzhou-14 crew entered the station.
Yeah,
so that is the right moment. But it is also very interesting. You know that the first moment of the permanent residence of those who can speak Chinese start from the Shenzhou-13 crew. You know that when Shenzhou-13 crew left our Tianzhou space station, they still have some astronauts inside the International Space Station who can speak Chinese. Mr. Matthias Moria from Germany and also Miss Samantha Cristoforetti can speak Chinese. The chief of the Wenchang spacecraft launch site will announce the result of this launch.
That's right, we'll be hearing that very soon.
I believe we can see the big red screen soon.
Yeah.
Officials, experts, and comrades. Based on the flight data from Long March 7Y6 carrier rocket and report from Beijing Command and Control Center, Tianzhou-5 cargo spaceship has entered the preset orbit, and the solar panel has been unfolded, and Tianzhou-5 is in good condition. Now I declare the launch of Tianzhou-5 a full success.
There it is, that red screen that we were waiting for.
Here, on behalf of Wenchang Launch Command's office, I would like to extend a warm congratulations to all participating teams, personnel, and research institutes. And my appreciation goes to the leaders and experts on site for your great support. This is the end of the launch mission. Thank you.
And so the control of the spacecraft is changed from this Wenchang spacecraft launch site to the Beijing Flight Control Center.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you can see the staff there taking off their lab coats.
Yeah.
Their task is done for the day. So that's it. So that's the final mission, supply mission of this current phase. And then the phase after this would be the development phase, right? I'm seeing here.
Exactly.
Application development stage. What does that entail then?